Most people think when I talk about going to a death scene, I'm going out to a house in Shoreview. It's a $150,000 home with a split-level entry, and someone has passed away in a beautiful veranda chair overlooking the lake. See, that doesn't happen. Get real, okay? You know, as my investigators say, get a grip on yourself, okay? That's not what's going to happen. When I go to a death scene, I'm going out behind some factory where two people have gotten into a knife fight, and someone has bled to death all over a bunch of boxes, and they're laying there, and they've bled to death. It's not very pleasant. I'm called to go to the Mississippi, and a body is floating in the Mississippi, and it's decomposed, and fire rescue has just brought it in, or Sheriff's Water Patrol has just brought it in, and now we're going to carry it up to the site. It's not very exciting. Most people have never looked at autopsy photographs, and they have no idea what they're going to see. The problem with a photograph is once you've shown it, you can't take it back. I autopsy people who get up in the morning just like me, and they get in their car, and when they leave the house in the morning, their wife expects them to come home at 4 o'clock at night for supper. They don't come home. They get as far as if we were and they're dead. They die in a car accident. What we're doing now is the body's been undressed and the clothing has been described, and now what we're going to do is we're going to clean the body off, and we're going to complete the external exam by describing what the outside of the body looks like and any wounds that are present. You can't work in a situation like this, in an office like this, with this kind of sadness and this kind of death, and just have the feeling like, well, que sera, sera, and whatever will be, will be. And after I'm dead, you know, if you had that kind of, you may be able to have that kind of view of life and do certain kinds of work, but not in a morgue. You have to understand that there is more to your life than just the life that we have right now living on this earth, that you will have another life after you die. Otherwise, this job would be unbearable. Unbearable, and I probably would not be doing it. I think one of the things that they think about is usually in a morgue is old and dark and grimy, and the people that work there can't or won't work anywhere else. I think a lot of the image was helped, or the image was helped to some degree when the movie or the TV show Quincy came on. Because Quincy at least showed that the people that are doing autopsies are real human beings. The difference between Quincy and real life is Quincy used to get really into the investigation of a single death. Now in reality, you can't do that because the next day you have more deaths. What Quincy basically did was the investigation that he carried out, you usually have the police do that. The reason you don't do it is because you just don't have time. Depending on what the case is like, that is how the person died, it can be a short autopsy, it can go like 4 hours, or it can be a long autopsy, it may go as long as 8 hours. And there's really no way to know until we get there.
What do you tell people about your profession?
As little as possible. What I try to do is I tell them if they ask what I do for a living, I tell them I work for the county. And if they let it go at that, then I do too. If they pursue it, I tell them I work for the medical examiner's office and try to let it go at that. If they really push and ask if I do autopsies for a living, then of course I say, yeah, that's what I do. But I try not to advertise that since it has a negative connotation. People that come to our office, we never know they're going to come to us. It's not like you're in a hospital where you can acquire a chart of information. People that come to us die suddenly and unexpectedly, sometimes violently, and we end up having to examine a deceased individual that we virtually know nothing about. So when you autopsy someone in our office, you literally many times have no idea why they died. You don't know, the family doesn't know, the police don't know. If there are attorneys involved, they don't know, and everyone is sort of waiting for you to basically make a diagnosis. Someone asked me one time if it was necessary to be a Christian to be a medical examiner. No, it is not, but it sure helps a lot. And the reason it helps a lot is because you're dealing with dead people all day. I never went to school with the idea of wanting to do this. Actually, I went to school with the idea of being a surgeon. And I probably would have ended up in surgery if but for the fact I heard a 1-hour lecture by the then medical examiner at Hennepin County. And I thought it sounded interesting. I really had no concept of ever wanting to do this for a living. So I went to work for him, and that was in 1975, and I never left.